Welcome back to Best Foot Forward, the Christmas chapter. Today I'm delighted to be welcoming back the wonderful Clare Leslie Hall, author of Broken Country, which you may know by now is one of my top reads of the year. I absolutely love this book. When we last spoke back in July for our previous episode, I remember coming away with the feeling of how much these characters meant to Clare. She truly loves Beth, Frank, and Gabriel. So today we'll find out what the reaction from readers has been like for Clare, as well as taking a look at the incredible awards and achievements of Broken Country. It has been amazing to see how well this book has done. And of course, we'll also be looking at what Clare's been reading and loving this year. So let's get started. Let's settle in and give Clare a warm welcome back to the show. Clare, welcome back, and thank you so much for joining me for a Christmas special.
Oh, it's so lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to be chatting to you. I mean, we've just been chatting for ages before we've started recording, but I'm delighted to be chatting to you again. We last spoke back in July when Broken Country was coming out and taking the world by storm. So, for any listeners who haven't picked it up yet, I'm just going to hold it up so they can see. You've got, is that the US cover behind you? Or
That's the Barnes and Noble special edition, and the US cover is the one with the sort of yellowy cover with the
yeah,
farmhouse on it.
it's beautiful. Okay, do you want to give listeners a little glimpse of what it's all about in case they've missed
Yeah.
it?
So Broken Country is really about a very passionate love triangle. It takes place over the 1950s and the 1960s in a small farming village in Dorset, and it culminates with this huge scandalous murder trial at the Old Bailey in London. And it's really the story of Beth, who is a young woman who's very torn between her first love, Gabriel, who she falls in love with at 17, and her farmer, very good, devoted farmer husband, Frank. And what happens when Gabriel unexpectedly returns to the village 13 years after he broke her heart and he turns her life upside down? And she's at a crossroads because she's reeling because Frank and Beth have lost their son. So Gabriel comes along at a moment when she's just having this very sort of turbulent marriage and she's very broken-hearted. And so I think there's this kind of pull of the past is a big part of her story.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, I've read it twice and I could still happily go and pick it up again just listening to you. It's such a
Oh,
great
that's
read.
so
I think
lovely.
if you haven't read it yet, put it on your Christmas wish list and just lock yourself away before Christmas, after Christmas, and just enjoy it. It's such a great read. I loved it so much. Um, so I'm not the only one who has absolutely loved it. Readers are just falling completely in love with Broken Country. I wonder, what has the response been like, Clare? Have you had any memorable moments from readers that you'd like to share with us?
God, the response has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've been to the States a few times, and most recently I met loads of readers, and they were so gorgeous, and they just told me such amazing things and how much the book meant to them. Because when I came out, I was out there for my actual launch, but of course, the book had only just come out then. So going back and sort of finding out how much it meant to people was amazing, and it's been the same here. I've done a few events and recently, and people are just so gorgeous, and they just tell you these wonderful things. I guess a couple of things that have really touched me were, obviously I'm a mother to three children, and I was very nervous about writing Beth as a grieving mother because that's not my experience. It was very important to me to make that as emotionally resonant and just authentic as I could, and I did that by inhabiting her pain and how I would feel. And I've had a couple of mothers who've come up to me and said that they've had similar experiences to Beth, and that they felt that I'd got it right, and also that they felt that Frank's grief was very male. So that has meant a huge amount to me, probably more than anything else in a way, because it was such a sort of painful topic, and I wanted to make sure I could get it as right as I could.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because, I mean, how lucky that we can only sort of imagine how
Yeah.
awful, but for people to have experienced it, to sort of to come and feel they want to talk to you and say how that's felt, that's really special. Um, yeah, I think that, I've never really thought about this, Claire. When you were saying, like, when book launches come out, nobody's read it, so we get excited. But how nice to go back round and chat to readers afterwards. That's so
Absolutely
lovely.
amazing. And I also went to Canada, which I've never visited before, and I loved it. I went to Calgary and Toronto, and it was just absolutely brilliant. And the really amazing thing, because of course, normally you can't really talk about spoilers, but a
Yeah.
lot of these events that I went to, people had read the book, and so we were able to talk a bit more freely. And it was just really fascinating seeing what they connected with. And I mean, some people, there's definitely a feeling Beth in the novel makes these questionable choices because sexual temptation is the heart of her story in a way. She's attracted to this man who is not her husband. Some readers do not like that, but
Mm,
for the most part, I think people have really sort of embraced Beth and the kind of journey that she goes on in the course of the novel. So
mm.
it's been really, really interesting to see how people found the book.
Yeah, I think with that, I remember when I was reading it, and we talked about it before, love triangles are so sort of difficult, aren't they? Because you do need somebody to break trust, which then puts them in potentially being an unlikable character. But with Beth, you completely understand where she's coming from, and she doesn't want to hurt anyone, but these two great guys, oh, it's so brilliant, isn't it? I just adored Beth. I just
Oh,
loved
I'm
her.
so glad. Yeah, me too. Because I think she's a survivor as well. Because I think
Mm,
her life gets knocked off course. That's kind of why I put it back into the 50s. It was originally a contemporary novel because I wanted to show how her a sort of working class country girl with these great aspirations, and she's just as clever as Gabriel, but this landowner's son, and his life just goes swimmingly, and hers gets knocked off course. But she picks herself up and again in the course of the novel, and I sort of love that about her. So I think she's very strong, and
mm,
also I don't know. I like to read about flawed characters, as long as
totally.
they're likable in some ways. And
Mm,
I think she's likable as a mother. I think she can be likable as a wife, although
mm.
ultimately, maybe she does get things very wrong.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point about the time, because I was just thinking about it when you were saying, I was like, if it was contemporary, I guess her options open more, don't they? After losing their child, like she would have had more options of
And
Frank and education or whatever, fulfilling her
yeah,
own.
exactly. Someone said to me at an event, if it had been a contemporary novel, you'd think that they would have been Gabriel and Beth would have been messaging each other. That there would
Totally,
have
yeah.
been more of a way of getting in touch with each other. And I actually think the other thing that somebody pointed out, which is really interesting, is that generation there was so much more self-sacrifice. So
Yeah.
I think Frank is a man of huge self-sacrifice, and in a way Beth is, because I can't imagine a modern day woman just going, hang on, I won't go to university, I'll just
Mm,
take my lot. So I think that was also quite a sort of period
yeah.
mood in a way.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking as well, when we spoke last time, just now that you've been back out with readers, we talked about Team Frank, Team Gabriel. What's the, is it still sort of 50-50, or what are your
Oh,
thoughts
I
on
think
readers?
it's really interesting. I think it's mainly people do seem torn, which I was certainly torn when I was writing it.
Mm,
Um, I'd say it's 80-20 really. I think people are very much into Frank.
yeah.
Um, and I've often felt, but this is just a sweeping generalization, but once when I was in New York earlier in the year, I met quite a lot of young readers and young publishing people, and they were really into Gabriel, and I
Mm,
thought, I wonder if it's an age thing, and that when you're young, you do maybe want the bad boy, hot guy a bit more
yeah.
than when you're older. You're like, oh, I think I need the devoted husband, thanks.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something to do with that
Yeah.
age.
And you made it so hard because they are both, in their own way, they're both really nice guys. Like, she would have been perfectly happy with either of them if situations had allowed, I guess, for one or
And,
the other.
and yeah, exactly. What I really wanted to do was like, can you love two people at once? I'm not sure you really can. I think you can in different ways, but I think what's complicated about those two is that they connect to different sides of who she is.
Mm.
So they're very different from each other. But, you know, Beth is bookish and romantic like Gabriel, and Beth is also sort of into the land and more down to earth and funny like Frank. So I think that does make it quite hard.
It does. It does. Oh, it's so brilliant. I loved it. We're going to take a look then, Claire. I'm going to have to read this out because it's a bit of a list. Some of your achievements for Broken Country. So it has achieved New York Times bestseller status and sold over 1 million copies. It's probably more now, is it? I imagine. It's a Reese's Book Club pick, a nominee for the 2025 Goodreads Choice Awards for favourite historical fiction and favourite audiobook. It's selected as one of Audible's best fiction of the year. It's been named one of the best books of 2025 by Amazon. It's been getting lots and lots of love in the Best Book Forward Awards at the moment, and it is currently in development for a film adaptation with Hello Sunshine. And probably so many other things as well. But
wow, yeah, it feels quite surreal when you put it like that.
Yeah,
it feels quite surreal anyway.
Yeah. How does it feel then? So now that it's out in the country, it's winning readers' hearts, it's getting all these awards. Because I know when I spoke to you last time, the feeling I came away with was that you had really put your heart and soul. I mean, it was a really big journey for you to write Broken Country. So what's it like now, looking at all of this?
Oh, I mean, I think I don't know if I'll ever get sort of used to it because it's so incredibly gratifying, and it's such a thrill, and it really means so much to me because one of the lovely things about social media is that on Instagram people can message you, and I got so many messages, and I still do, from readers just telling me how they felt, and actually to bother to take the time to message an author. I think, you know, I'm not sure I've ever done it, but occasionally I have, and it's just so many people have messaged me and told me why it meant so much to them, and it's just I don't think I'll ever really get over it because it's incredible that this story that I carried in my heart has connected with so many people, and that they're nice enough to come in and tell me what they feel. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah. It is. And actually, I know when it came out and I sort of posted around publication day, and then people would message me, and I did like a poll on whether people were team Frank or team Gabriel. And I remember, so it was like they was just could either click Frank or Gabriel. People clicked on it, and then they came to my messages and told me why they loved these characters. And I was like, wow, these, I mean, obviously, with a lot of books, you feel that connection, but they really did seem to sort of feel they know these characters well, and they want to sort of come and defend the man they were picking as well, which I thought was so interesting and just lovely that it's words on a page and it means so much to people.
Yeah, I absolutely feel like that. I mean, I felt like that about the characters, and actually, what's been really lovely, I do remember because they were flesh and blood to me, and they still are. But I was very nervous when the final edit went off, and I remember saying to my husband, "Oh, I'm feeling really panicky," because I felt like I was going to be bereft without them. And then I know that sounds crazy, but I did feel I'd spent 4 years in this tiny little office with those characters, and so. But what's amazing about this is the podcasts and being on tour and events. You're just talking about your characters, so they, if anything, they're even more present. They have been this year, so that's been really nice.
That is amazing. I love that. I just like, because I remember you talking about it before and how much they sort of were real to you and you thought about them all the time. It's like, and I do think that's why it is such a special book, because you've put so much into it. I think I mean, it's a great story, great characters, but I do think it's the love that you've put into these characters that makes it sort of one we all adore. So one of the other things that has happened, which is incredible, Broken Country has been translated into 35 languages. It's amazing.
Incredible.
It's incredible. And I love when you share on your Instagram the different covers. I always think it's so interesting how a cover can change from country to country, or the title can change. So have there been any foreign translations that have been more special? Any covers that you love more than the others? I shouldn't say that because you're going to love them all, but are there any favourites?
What I really adore is when you get a cover and you just think, oh yes, that makes so much sense for that country. Korean cover is just really cool. And it's got this sort of little house on an island with a sort of red roof. And the Bulgarian cover is also incredible. And they're sort of almost wearing old fashioned, sort of what you'd imagine like 1920s clothes. And there's these sort of, it's very, it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's like a sort of stylized painting, like a Lowry or something. And it's got these little sheep and this couple. Honestly, it's so cool. Plus, also, I loved the Finnish cover, which is, again, it's just a really sort of beautiful house, and it's just completely different. So I love it when they're really, really different. The Italian cover, I mean, I could go on. The Italian cover is like so 1950s. I think they took it from a painting, and it's a sort of canoodling couple in a boat on a lake. It's just beautiful.
Oh,
So very atmospheric.
Do you know what's really funny? You said, so I have a friend who's Bulgarian and she follows me on Instagram. She's always like, I can't read any of those books. She doesn't like to read fiction in English. I can get her the Bulgarian copy.
Yes.
We can actually read a book together. So I was like, oh, that's a Christmas present. How brilliant.
Perfect.
So I have to have a look into that. So we mentioned earlier that Broken Country is in development for a movie. I can't wait. I just can't wait to see what they would do with it. Are you able to share any news on what's happening? I know these things take time.
Yeah, I haven't got anything very exciting to tell you, except that I believe it's still all going well. I know that they've got a script. I think that I'm pretty sure they've got a script they're happy with. I know it was written by these two scriptwriters, this married couple, and they're brilliant. And I that's all I know. I hope it's going out to directors soon, but I haven't really been given any updates more than that. But the only thing I know is that it's still looking really good. So that's as much as you can hope for. I think these things, so many things can go wrong. So I'm just kind of crossing fingers and touching wood that it will go ahead, because I think it would be spectacular to see it on the screen. I really do. I can just visualize it. For me, it's always been a film in my head anyway. I think partly because it's the landscape of my home. So I see it. And the village of Hempston was the village where my son went to primary school. So I see the school, so a lot of it is very real for me anyway. But I also think it would be very good as a film. So I'd love to see it.
Yeah, me too. I think it'd be amazing. We were talking a little bit before we came on about sort of cast as well. We're recording this, what's the date? The end of November. I've just been to see Hamnet. We were sort of talking about cast. Have you had any other ideas of who you might like? Dream casting?
Yeah, I mean, I still think Paul Mescal could be a really good Frank. It's hard. I don't know really. I think I recently came around to thinking Florence Pugh would be an amazing Beth, because I really like her, or Saoirse Ronan. I had originally always sort of pictured Daisy Edgar Jones in that role, but there are so many people who I think would be magnificent. To be honest, I think Jacob Elordi would be a very good Gabriel.
But he maybe.
Yeah, I hope it happens. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
Come on. That's our Christmas wish.
Let's manifest it.
Definitely. Right. I will work on that this afternoon. Something else that's happened this year, then you've reissued a couple of your books, and I'm furious with myself. I just said to you, I had a copy of pictures of him on my desk to hold up, and I've walked around the house with it somewhere, and I don't know where it's gone, but it will turn up. So we've got pictures of him, and Days You Were Mine have been reissued. I'm really excited to read them both. I wonder if you want to give listeners a little glimpse of what those are both about.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. So Pictures of Him was my first published novel. It was 7 years in the making, but that was because my last child, I started writing it when he was 6 weeks old, and I used to put him under his baby gym, and write for sort of 10 minutes.
Wow.
So it just took a long old time. But mum to 3 young children kind of thing. It's the story of, it's about Catherine, a woman, and she's mute, and it opens with this woman who's sort of can't speak, and she's in a kind of in a nursing home, being visited by her husband and her children. And you know that something's traumatic has happened, and that's why she's lost the power of speech, but you don't know what it is. And then it kind of replays through her life, and there are 3 timelines. There's 4 months before, and you realise that a lot of it goes back to this passionate love affair that she'd had at university, where something terrible went wrong, and that she reconnects with this ex-lover, Lucian. So it's really the love story of Catherine and Lucian and her husband Sam. I guess it is a love triangle. I'm getting over it saying things are love triangles, because I guess I just find I'm pulled to emotion, and love triangle feels a little bit reductive somehow. Even though I my books do tend to have, I think what it really is, and this is the thing with pictures of him, I'm really interested in nostalgia, and I'm really interested in those small decisions that kind of are curveballs that end up playing out and completely changing your life. I really like to look at the life not taken. I don't know if you like the film La La Land, but I'm a fanatic. I love La La Land, and I love that parallel life sequence at the end of it, when all the life she could have had with Ryan Gosling. I think that's kind of what I'm drawn to. So that's a lot of what the theme of pictures of him is nostalgia, I think, and the path not taken. And then Daisy or Mine is probably the most personal novel that I've ever written, because it's the story of a young adopted man who has his own baby, and it triggers him to find his birth mother, and he reconnects with his birth mother, and of course it does go wrong. But really at the heart of that novel is this very, very passionate story set in the 1970s. I sort of think of it as being like a British Daisy Jones, because it's between Alice, who's a young art student, and Jake, who's the singer of a sort of a rock band, and sort of kind of Pink Floyd-esque rock band. And it's just this very, very, very passionate love story. And it's about identity. It's about the quest for identity, particularly. It's about the sort of wound of being given away at birth, and, you know, why that actually stays within you, even if you were a baby, because I did quite a lot of research into that. So it's about adoption, and it's about motherhood, and it was the reason I wrote it was because my husband John found his birth mother, Frances, and that gave me the idea. And so in a way it's kind of, I mean, that's all it was. It's actually, it's a completely fictional story, but it was triggered by a real life event.
They both sound amazing. I'm going to try and read pictures of him if I can find it, before the end of the year. That's my my goal. I have to go and look in the washing basket or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Do you know, I'm so amazed at you writing with a brand new baby. I mean, I struggle doing like an online shop or brushing my hair.
I know, but it had been
amazing.
a long old run-in. I'd had an agent at that point with a book, and then it didn't sell, and I'd lost an agent, and I just always was so desperate to have a career as a novelist. But I remember it being tough, and John used to take the kids off to his mum's house, and the thing was, I remember feeling so conflicted, because I'd get this weekend and it was like, that's really how that book got written. And then he'd send me these amazing photos of my daughter and my son sort of playing in a stream, and I'd be like, oh no, what am I doing? It's very hard trying to do all those things, isn't it? When you've got a young family.
Yeah. But then I guess for you as well, it's like those stories are desperate to come out as well. Like, it sounds like, I mean, I just think that's amazing. Particularly like the interruptions must be really hard. Like you're saying, if he's in his bouncer and things, like sort of sitting down to write, and then like I don't know that my brain would cope with like sort of chopping and changing back in, but that's
Yeah,
really
and you know what? I mean, I'm finding it more than ever now because I'm trying to write a new book, and I am writing a new book, but I'm finding the interruptions even now. My children are basically, they are grown up, but
yeah.
there still seems to be a lot going on at home. And I think what I had before, because I wrote Broken Country out of contract, was this, in a way, the privilege of having 4 years of no deadlines, and it was incredible. And I could just lock myself away. But somehow now, because there's a lot of promotion with Broken Country, which is wonderful.
Mm.
And then I went on tour and doing events. I'm finding it a little bit hard to get what I feel I need in terms of headspace. But maybe I just have to get used to the fact that life will be a bit more bitty going forwards.
Mm. I guess if you're sort of doing Broken Country promotion and then sort of having to come back and get into whatever new world it is, it's that sort of leave those there, come back and sort of re-enter. It's quite hard. I mean, are you able to tell us a little bit about what you're working
Yeah,
on?
yeah,
Or
no,
yeah,
I am, and that's exactly what it is. It is hard for me. Um, it's very hard for me. I feel like I'd like to sort of have a really long free period of time to
mm.
get into the headspace. The story is, it's basically, it's probably going to be in the 60s, although I'm questioning, thinking, did you watch Trespassers? Have you watched that
Not
yet?
yet. I've read the book, but
Oh,
I haven't watched it yet.
the adaptation's amazing. It's so faithful to the book. And it made me feel, I love looking at the 70s. So anyway, it's a period novel again. It's about a family, quite a sort of eccentric family who live in a clifftop hotel in Dorset. And there are two daughters, and one of them is a young widow. And they are famous for this big pagan sort of midsummer celebration that they hold every year at the hotel. And one year, this composer comes to sort of draw inspiration from this midsummer festival, and they unwittingly, and he, it turns out, is a widow with a young teenage daughter, and they fall in love against their expectations. So that's kind of one strand, is will they get together, will that relationship work out? And then the other strand is told by her dead husband, who drowned at Midsummer 4 years before. And that's the sort of past timeline. And there's a big sort of mystery thread, which I'm working on at the moment. There's a missing girl at the start of the novel. You know that somebody has disappeared from the village. So, so that's where I am. And I'm quite excited by it. I have to say, I really like the characters. I really love the setting. I just need to write it.
Oh, that sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. I can't
Oh,
wait. And
good.
I love that because I mean, Broken Country obviously had the sort of, there was the romance and there's a bit of a mystery and then there's a trial as well. So there's so much to sort of just completely get totally absorbed in. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm going to lock you in there.
Oh,
Send your,
okay, yes. Well,
send your
would
family to
you?
me.
Yeah, we could.
I'll do
Yes, I'll take
I'll
you
deal
up
with
on it.
that with
I
them so
keep
you can
saying to
write.
I keep saying to John, I'm going to have to move out of this family. I'm just going to have to move out
Oh,
anyway.
oh, bless them. Um, when is that? So you're writing it now? Would that be like sort of 2027? Is that sort of?
Yeah, I would have
Yeah,
thought so. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I'm going to pace out these other two. Then I'll read this one by the end of the year, and I'll do the other
Thank
one
you.
mid. So I've always got a bit of your book in my life.
Oh, I love
And
that. Thanks,
actually, I
Helen.
do want to go back and listen to the audiobook of Broken Country as well. And I
Oh,
saw,
she's incredible. She is amazing. I can't get over how lucky I was that they got Hattie, because she's just amazing.
when I saw it on your Instagram about it being nominated on Audible, I was like, oh, I have to go back and listen to it because, yeah, lots to keep me going. Okay, so when we spoke last time, you picked the 5 books that you felt had shaped your life. We're going to have a little look back at those and see whether, I mean, it wasn't that long ago since we spoke, but whether they still sort of stand for you. So we had I Captured the Castle by Jodie Smith, Moon Tiger by Penelope Lively. Is that the right name? Lively?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
My favorite.
um, All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and The Go-Between by L.P. Hartley, which I keep confusing with J.P. Hartley. Do you remember the Yellow Pages advert?
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Same.
It's got into my head.
Same.
Younger listeners will be like, the what? The Yellow Pages?
I love that ad. Love that ad.
So good, wasn't it?
So good. Well, do you know what? They do all stand, but I have made a decision, which is I'm swapping out The Go-Between for Atonement by Ian McEwan, because I thought I love The Go-Between, but actually, would I keep rereading it? Whereas I would keep rereading Atonement, because I think it has so many different things. You know, it has first love in it, it has wartime experience in it, and it's got that whole sort of meta fiction. And it's got the killer twist. I feel it's got so much depth that it's a book I would reread and do reread. So I'm going to swap that one out.
Okay. How about I give you that one as an extra for Christmas?
Oh, that's perfect.
There you go. The Go-Between doesn't have to sit there and cry now at being swapped out. You're still there. Atonement's one of the books I want to go back and reread, actually. I often think about it, and I was like, and I think I've left it long enough now where I could read it again and sort of, I mean, I've got such a terrible memory anyway. I do quite often read books and forget, but I think it would be a good time for me to get back into that one. So
it's a most gorgeous read. I also happen to watch the film a lot. Do you?
Oh, do you? I've only seen it. That's the Keira Knightley one with the green dress.
Yeah.
Oh. I've only seen it once. So
no, it's one of my comfort watches. I watch it a lot. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go and pick that one up. So Claire, I know you read loads and you love your books as well. So what have you been reading this year? Do you have any standout reads that you'd like to recommend to us?
Yes, look, it's right here actually. Have you read this yet?
Oh yes, second time it's come up actually. Yeah.
Heart the Lover. I mean, and I have a tip here, because I read Heart the Lover. It came out, I think, a little bit. I happened to be in the States. I think it hadn't come out in the UK yet, and I rushed to Barnes and Nobles and I bought it. And I was flying from New York to San Diego, and I was like, right, I'm gonna ration myself. Anyway, I did not look up on that plane journey, and I finished it as we touched down, and then I started rereading it. That is the sign of a book that means so much to me. But somebody told me, and I hadn't picked up on this, that Writers and Lovers, her novel of a few years before, which I had read, is in a way, it's linked. She's the same character.
Oh.
And it's a different period of her life. So I've just reread that on my Kindle because it was there. And yeah, you can see she's Casey. She is the same. She's the same character, which I had no idea when I was reading Writers and Heart Lover.
That's so interesting. Catherine Newman, who's also on this series, she said to me about Heart the Lover, and I picked it up. But I didn't read Writers and Lovers, so I'm gonna have to go back.
It's
read that
it's
one
wonderful.
As well. Yeah. I loved Heart
I love
the Lover.
her writing, and she writes so much about writing as well, of course, which is fascinating. And yeah, she's absolutely brilliant. And then another one, which again, if I've read it twice, that's pretty much my do or die, and that is The Death of Us by Abigail Dean. Have you read that?
No, this is another one
So
people keep telling me I would love. Abigail Dean. Okay.
It's very beautiful. The premise is, will sound grim, but it isn't really. It's about a house intruder and a serial killer who gets caught at the age of 70, and it's about the couples whose lives he's ruined, who are going to testify in the court case. But interspersed with that is this beautifully told a marriage over 25 years. And it's a love story, really. And it's so, the writing is magnificent. It's absolutely brilliant.
I think it's actually, I know it's on one of the long lists for the awards that I'm doing at the moment. So, but somebody was just telling me about it the other day. So I'm going to go and treat myself to that before a little Christmas read. Okay, so we're going to just dive into some Christmassy questions then before we head off. So you're going to be popping round to see Beth for a pre-Christmas catch-up. What gift would you bring her? What do you think she'd be wanting for Christmas?
Well, I think I'm going to give her a fake fur hot water bottle and some cashmere bed socks because that farmhouse is very, very chilly, not unlike this
Oh,
farmhouse. I think that's what she needs for those cold
oh.
winter nights.
And that's such a lovely gift because it's not something you would buy yourself, is it? Because it would feel
No,
like,
yeah,
particularly Beth, I can't see her going off and buying her cashmere socks, but that's such a nice
no, I don't think
idea.
she would.
But I'm sure she'd enjoy them. So clearly you also love your movies, and we're all very excitedly waiting to see what will happen with Broken Country. Claire, what, in your opinion, is the best Christmas movie of all time?
It's a really tough one, and I am torn between Love Actually and The Holiday, which our family, we're so ritualistic about it. I'll go with Love Actually, and I'll tell you why. Because we always say we'll watch it together. My son is now lives in London, and someone always breaks, and they always go, "Whoops, sorry," and we post to each other. So I'm going to go with Love Actually. I just adore it. I know it almost line by line. Um, I love the music, and it's just I don't know. I just get so swept up in the story. I just adore it. It's the kind of thing I find this with Richard Curtis anyway. Even though sometimes his humour can be a little bit kind of almost too on the nose and a bit clunky, the more I watch a Richard Curtis movie, the more I love it. There's
Yeah.
something about it. It's like those
Mm.
sort of crisps that you can't stop eating. There's something about Richard Curtis that more means I want more. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
He's more-ish, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Love Actually as well because it's like it makes you laugh. It's like makes you a bit sad as
Yeah.
well. I love it.
I love
But
Colin Firth's
oh,
romance.
yes,
It's so great, isn't it?
and Hugh Grant's
And I
dance.
love Hugh Grant. I mean, I love Hugh. Who doesn't love Hugh Grant? I mean, Hugh
I,
Grant is hilarious. I love him.
but mind you, my husband just watched his new movie the other day, the scary one. I had to go upstairs because he was really scaring me. Have you
Oh,
seen it? Heathen.
um
Is it Heathen?
oh it's not Heathen. Do you
What's
mean
it
the
called?
one with the two girls?
Yes.
Yes, it's called something different. Oh, what is
I
it
can't think
called?
what it's called.
Anyway, I've watched it. It's brilliant because it's better. Yeah, it's kind of dark. But my son loves horror, so I do watch a bit of horror with him. But it's so brilliant because Hugh Grant plays Hugh Grant. He's just kind of really comic and funny and
Yeah.
wry, and then really sinister.
Really?
And
Yeah,
it's just
really.
such a brilliant device that he kind of
Yeah.
almost plays the Hugh Grant that you know. It's
Yeah.
so good,
I had to
but
go upstairs because
terrifying.
he
It
was
is
freaking
terrifying.
me out. I was like, nope, no, 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 no. I'll have nightmares for a month.
Yeah, yeah.
Bless. He is brilliant. And Oompa Loompa and everything. Gotta love him.
Oh yeah, I know. He's wonderful.
That was a really random tangent to end on. Sorry, that was me.
That's fine. I love those random tangents. I
I
live
do
for
too.
them.
And I loved chatting to you again, Claire. Thank you so
Oh,
much for
me
coming back.
too.
It's been lovely. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. I know I say this all the time, but I loved that conversation. I could have chatted to Claire all day. She is so lovely and so interesting. And hearing her talk about Broken Country again just made me want to go and pick it up and read it for the third time. Maybe I will dive into that audiobook. If you haven't read it yet, you are really missing out on a fantastic read. So do grab a copy, and I am sure it will win your heart as well. All of the books that we've talked about today are listed in the show notes below, so do check those out, as well as details of the boutique book break, which I mentioned earlier on. I really hope that you're enjoying this special Christmas season as much as I've enjoyed making it. If you are enjoying the show, I would be so grateful if you could take the time to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends about it. It makes a huge difference to the show, and it would also make my Christmas wishes come true. I'll be back tomorrow with another Christmas chapter special, and I really hope that you'll join me for that episode too. See you soon, and thanks for listening.